The book is awesome. I know there are many books out there that are probably as interesting. I'm still on chapter 1 of this book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. In chapter 1, I'm on page 28. And look at what he is saying. On this particular page, he says, he has a poem. He says, I do have a poem pasted on my mirror where I can see it when I shave every morning. A poem that Sir William Osler always kept on his desk. A poem written by the famous Indian dramatist Kalidasa. The Salutation to the Dawn. The poem says, look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lie all the verities and realities of your existence. The bliss of growth, the glory of action, the splendor of achievement. For yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow is only a vision. But today, well lived, makes yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day. Such is the salutation to the dawn. So the first thing you should know about worry is this. If you want to keep it out of your life, do what Sir William Osler did. Shut the iron doors on the past. In other words, put the past behind you. And the future. Shut the iron doors on the past and the future. Live in day-tight compartments. Like live for now, live in the moment, in the present. Why not ask yourself these questions and write down the answers? Do I tend to put off living in the present in order to worry about the future? Or to yearn for some magical rose garden over the horizon? Do I sometimes embitter the present by regretting things that happened in the past that are over and done with? Do I get up in the morning determined to seize the day, to get the utmost out of these 24 hours? When shall I start to do this? Next week? Tomorrow? Today? And in chapter 2, there are some areas that I found very interesting. He says, would you like a quick surefire recipe for handling worry situations? A technique you can start using right away before you go any further in reading this book. He says, then let me tell you about the method that worked out by Willis H. Carrier, the brilliant engineer who launched the air conditioning industry and who is now head of the world-famous Carrier Corporation in Syracuse, New York. It is one of the best techniques I ever had of solving worry problems. And I got it from Mr. Carrier personally when we were having lunch together one day at the Engineers Club in New York. When I was a young man, I worked for the Buffalo Forge Company in Buffalo, New York. I was handed the assignment of installing a gas cleaning device in a plant of the Pittsburgh Plate Glass Company at Crystal City, Missouri, a plant costing millions of dollars. The purpose of this installation was to remove the impurities from the gas so it could be burned without injuring the engines. This method of cleaning gas was new. It had been tried only once before and under different conditions. In my work at Crystal City, Missouri, unforeseen difficulties arose. It worked after a fashion, but not well enough to meet the guarantee we had made. I was stunned by my failure. It was almost as if someone had struck me a blow on the head. My stomach, my inside began to twist and turn. For a while, I was so worried I couldn't sleep. Finally, a common sense reminded me that worry wasn't getting me anywhere. So I figured out a way to handle my problem without worrying. It worked superbly. I've been using this same anti worry technique for more than 30 years now. It is simple, anyone can use it. It consists of three steps. Step one, I analyzed the situation fearlessly and honestly and figured out what was the worst that could possibly happen as a result of this failure. No one was going to jail me or shoot me, that was certain. True, there was a chance that I would lose my position, and there was also a chance that my employers would have to remove the machinery and lose the $20,000 we had invested. Step two, after figuring out what was the worst that could possibly happen, I reconciled myself to accepting it if necessary. I said to myself, this failure will be a blow to my record, and it might possibly mean the loss of my job. But if it does, I can always get another position. Conditions could be much worse, and as far as my employers are concerned, well, they realize that we are experimenting with a new method of cleaning gas. And if this experience costs them $20,000, they can stand it. They can charge it up to research, for it is an experiment. After discovering the worst that could possibly happen and reconciling myself to accepting it, if necessary, an extremely important thing happened. I immediately relaxed and felt a sense of peace that I had not experienced in days. Step 3. From that time on, I calmly devoted my time and energy to trying to improve upon the worst which I had already accepted mentally. Page 32. I now try to figure out ways and means by which I might reduce the loss of $20,000 that we faced. I made several tests and finally figured out that if we spent another $5,000 for additional equipment, our problem would be solved. We did this, and instead of the firm losing $20,000, we made $15,000. I probably would never ever have been able to do this if I had kept on worrying, because one of the worst features about worry is that it destroys our ability to concentrate. When we worry, our minds jump here and there and everywhere, and we lose all power of decision. However, when we force ourselves to face the worst and accept it mentally, we then eliminate all those vague imaginations and put ourselves in a position in which we are able to concentrate on our problem. This incident that I've related occurred many years ago. It worked so well that I have been using it ever since. And as a result, my life has been almost completely free from worry. So, worrying does not solve the problem. The technique is getting to a point where you ask yourself this very question: what's the worst that can happen because of the situation that you find yourself in? Since you cannot change the past, since you cannot change what has happened, and dwelling on it and spending sleepless nights does not erase or delete the fact that the challenge has occurred, why not ask yourself this question: what's the worst that could happen? Then you get to the point of acceptance of if that worst comes to the worst, I will deal with this situation. Then be able to allow yourself to sleep and stop worrying as you figure out the better solution to the challenge. I think I'm going to stop here on reading How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. To be continued, but then I'm sharing a few snippets here and there of this book by Dale Carnegie. And thank you again for listening. What's the worst that could happen? The situation you worried about. Yes, it may embarrass you, but what's the worst that could happen?